Whether you're a character in a fictional story or you're a person going through your own spiritual awakening and your healing journey, you have to do this one thing.
Let go! Let go!
Let go of a previous pattern that is holding you back.
It's scary when they get older.
Ron, you spoiled everything!
Let go of control.
You only split the soul once. For instance, it's 7.
7? Isn't it bad enough to consider killing one person?
Let go of fear, whatever your blocks are. And the thing is,
you have to relax. If you don't, it'll only kill you faster.
Kill us faster? Oh, now I can relax!
that's kind of hard. And it's also kind of elusive. Like, what is letting go? What does it entail? Because for some reason, just making yourself try to pretend that you don't have that pattern doesn't work. Well, in this video, I want to answer the question, what do you have to do to let go, by explaining it through our favorite Harry Potter characters. Let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about a character who did not let go, who'd never let go. Of course, it's our villain, Voldemort, he who must not be named himself. I think it's kind of hilarious how to what extent Voldemort held on to control.
Voldemort will return. Very much alive.
I'm actually so not going to kill my toxic ego to the point where I'm gonna break it into 7 pieces, and it's gonna be that much harder to get rid of my toxic old identity. And I think that's very funny, but it's also really telling as to why his mission did not work.
She wants me looked at. I think I'm different.
Voldemort had very similar upbringings to Harry. That's why they are great mirrors for each other. That's why it was great that Harry ended up defeating Voldemort in the end. Voldemort was also orphaned. He was also probably seen as weird or bullied, especially being in a Muggle orphanage, but having magical powers. So he obviously had the need to try to empower himself.
I can touch you.
The thing about Voldemort and anyone who just ends up being extremely controlling to the point where they build their mission, whatever they want to do based on their control, is they get stuck in an actual villain mode. It is healthy to have your villain era, which is really just you admitting your feelings, you being rightfully angry at whatever happened to you, taking back the control, taking back the power so that you validate yourself. But I think what happens is there's a fine line between empowering yourself and defending yourself and trying to control others so that they recognize your power. This is where I think a lot of people get stuck. It's the, yeah, but they were wrong, but I can decide to ignore them. Yeah, but shouldn't I prove them wrong? Shouldn't I get justice, or should I just walk away? I felt that I was in a little bit of a villain era for a couple months. I was really angry and I needed to get a lot of anger out. But for me, that stage, that villain era stage, kind of naturally fizzled out. I recognized that as shadow work. I recognized that, oh, this is just an important thing for me to understand. But I don't have to hold on to it like I had to live in the anger forever. This anger, this need to take back my power is just for me to meet myself. And once I was able to vulnerably meet myself, I no longer needed to externalize everything. And this is where I think a lot of people get stuck, and they stay in villain mode, where they think taking back your power also means defend myself, make it about other people, control other people. That's the fine line.
Stop. No!
When you externalize things too much, even if you think you're controlling it, you're also giving other people the power to still destroy you. You see how either way, externalizing so much is still not the answer. It has to come from you. So here's the thing. If you have been controlling in your life, it's not over. Of course, there have been times in our lives where we have been controlling. And no matter how long you have hung on to that control, you can still let go.
There will be no foolish wand waving or silly incantations in this class.
Case in point, Severus Snape. I love Snape. And I think by the end of the series, everyone was like, oh my God, actually, he is our favorite character, or he is one of my favorite characters, because he spends the entire series up until the very end so guarded. And we later learn that he's kind of guarded because he is really holding on to grief. Grief over his lost love, Lily, and the grief that he got from Harry's father for bullying him. So much so that even though Snape had like a connection, a piece of Lily through Harry, Snape could only see his father.
Maybe some of you have come to Hogwarts in possession of abilities so formidable that you feel confident enough to not pay attention.
Snape could only see the arrogance of James Potter through Harry, and he could not see and did not appreciate seeing the goodness of Lily that is also in Harry Potter until the very end, when he finally says,
You have your mother's eyes.
it kind of worked out for the story and Harry's benefit that Snape never let go, because it allowed him to be a really good double agent. But I kind of think that he could have let go a little bit more, at least for his own sake, to live a little bit of a less grief-stricken, guarded, like isolated life. I think Snape could have been happier. But his sacrifice and his unwillingness to let go somewhat helped with his purpose. But notice that he did have to let go in the end in order to fully fulfill it. He had to cry. He had to have his last moments where he appreciated seeing Lily in Harry's eyes. And then his memories, all of his stuff, is also what helped Harry ultimately understand his purpose. Maybe his grief and his anger is the reason why it ultimately helped him in the end to trick Voldemort. But I will say, I think Snape actually had to let go a couple of times, and he really did. So first of all, after Lily and James died, he stopped being a Death Eater and he went to Dumbledore. And Dumbledore kind of helped him redeem himself. And since then, he was still kind of like guarded. And then eventually he became a double agent again against the second war against Voldemort. But every time he did let go, it was important. So I will just say, even if you had been really controlling, even if there has been years of grief and things that you haven't let go of, there is always time for you to let go. And maybe it is actually just the opportune moment for you to. You could have grief over never letting go for years, but what if the time that you finally did was the perfect timing for everything to set into place? You also don't have to die. Like what if it, either way, it's never too late. So let's talk about a character who actually did a lot of inner work, even though he was kind of annoying for most of the movies.
Ronald Weasley!
I love Ron. Mostly book Ron, though. I mean, movie Ron I also love, but some of his best book lines they gave to Hermione, and they made Hermione really perfect, who I'm gonna get to in a second, but they made Ron kind of like the worst version of himself in the movies. It kind of worked, though, for the arc that I think that kind of goes under the radar a little bit. So I love that Ron was very human.
Only I'm head boy, and I'm holding the Quidditch cup. And bloody hell, I'm Quidditch captain too. I look good.
he had jealousy, he had comparison. Not only was his best friend the boy who lived and the hero, but the girl that he loved and his other friend was also like the top of her class and really smart. Plus, he had a bunch of brothers that were also higher achievers, and then he had a little sister. So he was just kind of like the friend, the sidekick, the other brother, like just another one of the Weasleys. And he didn't quite have his own identity. But he was also, and I remember this from the books, he was the person that Harry wanted to be around the most, and Hermione found like a lot of like she loved his humor and stuff. That's why we love Ron, and he's so supportive. And I think that him thinking I need to be more special is so human, and it's probably one of the more relatable characters with a relatable struggle, which seems a little bit less important considering the Dark Lord and all the shit that is going on. But what I love about Ron is that he actually clearly had an arc where he had to transform and he had to face his shadow.
You're being stupid.
Yeah, that's me. Ron Weasley, Harry Potter's stupid friend.
We saw Ron being jealous, messing up the Yule Ball, like being annoyed at Harry. Basically all the fourth book he's annoying. And then when it came to actually hunting Horcruxes, when he was wearing his, it basically brought out his shadow.
Fine. I get it. I saw you two the other night.
Well, that's nothing.
It made him say everything that was buried under the surface. And because of that, he had to leave Harry and Hermione for a little bit. He pisses them off, but then eventually, because he also has literally the light, like he was going through a shadow, and he also has a little tool with the light, which Dumbledore gave him, and it led him back to help him defeat his shadow. Like, I think that's really poetic, and I think it's really low-key. Like, I feel like not a lot of people really go, oh my god, Ron had such an arc, because he was annoying for most of the movies. But he realistically had to do what a lot of people really have to do in any healing journey. And it's, you do have to admit your actual, like, hard feelings and thoughts. Like, I think Ron, since meeting them, but also specifically since the fourth book, he kept trying to bury and not face his shadow, but it was still there. And he wasn't letting go of it. He was just burying it because other things were more important. But actually, you see that him burying that was also not helpful to the mission. It still disrupted the productiveness of the mission. So he had no choice but to have to let go in order to help see out killing all the Horcruxes. And his is literally the direct, like, line to destroying one of them, right? So I think it's cool because symbolically, like, what happens is Ron is the person who makes the Sword of Gryffindor appear. So it is shown that he does have bravery. And it seems like the bravery is his bravery to face a shadow that would have been toxic, that wouldn't have been healthy if it kept going. So the actual sword appeared to him, and then the Horcrux opened up basically a visual of his shadows, of all of his fears that he's not letting go of, and he has to stab it and actually face it head on. And I think that's so cool. And again, something that I feel like could have happened a little bit more in Harry Potter, but whatever. He symbolically did what shadow work and a lot of letting go looks like. You know, instead of staying in that, like, angry, I'll take it out on everybody, I'll be jealous, I'll make comments, whatever, like he was in, he had to face it in order to let it go. Because realistically, like, Ron was on the path to being a really toxic person. like the more that all of that festered in him, like he could have, if he ended up with Hermione, it would have been bad. Like, I don't know, he would have cheated, or at the very least at their wedding, he would have been the guy like smashing cake in Hermione's face, you know? Like, he would be that insecure.
This tiny ball of light appeared. And I knew. And sure enough, it floated toward me, the ball of light. Went right to my chest, straight through me. Right here. I knew it was going to take me where I needed to go.
That is the type of person in real life that we want to see let go and change their patterns. So good on Ron, and I'm hoping the HBO series makes him a little bit less dumb. So that brings us to our perfect angel, Hermione, who is just perfect, and she's only on here for the purposes of talking about letting go of perfection.
Are you sure that's a real spell? Well, it's not very good, is it? You've got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know?
I think movie Hermione, though, didn't have enough of an arc, I would say. They made her too perfect, and book Hermione was a little bit more like, she had a little bit more up and down emotions. She was more defensive. She was like trying to fight for like the rights of house elves. Like, she had so many other controversial opinions and a lot of other things that I hope we see in the HBO series. But with Hermione, though, there are moments within the movies where she had to let go of having a plan. And she had to be like, okay, we have to go with it without having a plan. And there's moments where, like, her trying to also look perfect, like in the first movie, like, granted, Ron shouldn't have teased her, but at the same time, she was kind of being a little annoying.
Stop. You're going to take someone's eye out.
In the books, they do kind of show it as her being a little bit more snobby, a little bit more like, hey, look at me, I'm really smart and everyone needs to know it. Like, and that's not bad, but I think the need to be perfect and to have a perfect image was still a shadow that she had to work through. Less so in the movies, but you still see it kind of there. And I like it because I think that in the books, it's a little bit more prominent that, like, Ron actually helps her with that. And, like, being less perfect, being less planned, like, was ultimately what she had to do anyway to ultimately kill the Horcruxes and to help Harry Potter.
Who cares? I mean, it's sort of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules.
And then we have one of my favorites, Neville. Neville's a stud. Neville grew in a way that I wish for everyone. Neville was barely not the chosen one, right? He could have been, and then he wasn't. But his parents ended up getting like that horrible curse, and he lived with his grandmother, and then he kind of was brought up to be more anxious and fearful. And he basically spent most of the Harry Potter series kind of shaking his anxiety off, shaking his what seems like low confidence off, and slowly building his confidence.
You have got to start standing up to people, Neville.
How? I can barely stand at all.
And what he really was letting go of was letting go of what people thought of him. He was probably, I believe he seemed to be bullied, and letting go of feeling weaker. And in the end, he ended up being like, you know, the trio's like main guy who they trusted to handle the stuff at Hogwarts while they were away.
Hey, losers. He isn't here.
He was always a Gryffindor. He always wanted to protect and like be brave and to stand up when something was wrong, like in the first movie.
You'll get Gryffindor into trouble again. I'll fight you.
And even though he was frozen and granted, like, he was disrupting an important mission in the first movie, he already showed that he wanted to be someone who can stand up and fight, but he wasn't quite there. So he had to let go of his fears. Like in the 5th book, he was trying to do like one of the spells and he was having a hard time with it, but he ended up like still growing into somebody who could and becoming braver.
14 years ago, A Death Eater named Bellatrix Lestrange used the Cruciatus curse on my parents. She tortured them for information, but they never gave in. I'm quite proud to be their son.
What I love about Neville is he basically took the labels and like the projections of him being weak and awkward and like anxious, and he decided to be brave through it. I will say, I don't know that he let go as much as he just built up his confidence, but I think there's part of him that probably let go of thinking he had to look perfectly confident. He had to have perfect body language and actions to be confident. He just was, and he was still a little bit awkward, and he stayed a little bit awkward, but still completely brave the entire time. That's what I love about Neville, and he's my favorite. And his actor is a beautiful man. And then we have Harry. When you think about it, what's kind of tragic about Harry was his entire existence was kind of set up for him. Like, he didn't really have a chance to super solidify who he was. He kind of lived as a hero and mostly just a hero for the entire time we see him. And I think there's a lot of moments where he had to let go of control of knowing what was happening. And he had to trust, like, I have the power to defeat the Dark Lord. I have the power to defeat things, and I will just make that my mission and to live that out. Now, not everyone has to do this, okay? I think for Harry, he's a unique situation where he kind of had the knowing that he had a mission that he had to carry out. And instead of super fighting it, like, there have been times where he questioned it a lot, where he questioned his ability to be good, and where he questioned whether or not he was even worthy of being the chosen one. And especially when he found out he was he like had some of the traits of Voldemort, I think he eventually let go of thinking like that side would take over him. I think he always had the potential to go evil, but he let go of all the evil thoughts. Like, in the 5th book, when he gets like very angry.
Look at me! What's happening to me?
When he finally kind of goes, everything has been happening to me. I've had a lot of things happen in my life. Why is no one cluing me in? Whatever. He has the right to be that angry. And I think in that moment, he's allowed to question, he's allowed to be angry, but eventually he accepts that, like, these things aren't happening at me. They are somewhat happening for me to build me up. And I don't have to question so much or get so angry at the people who don't believe me. I can let go of kind of controlling that, and I get to just focus on my mission. And that's the main thing that Harry does. And he even decides, I will be okay if I have to die for my cause, which is the ultimate letting go. And actually, because of that, he ended up just killing the part of them that was controlling, that was more toxic, that had Voldemort in him. And he was allowed to sort of live out the rest of his life, like, after that.
I have a choice.
Oh, yes. Wearing King's Cross, you say? I think if you so desired, you'll be able to board a train.
And where would it take me?
On.
I think for Harry, in that example, it's more like he allowed himself to be led and to be okay with his mission and to trust it rather than try to control it. I think if you are having a hard time with your journey of letting go of control, it is completely understandable because, again, it's hard to skirt the line between empowering yourself and controlling the people around you. That is actually what Harry went through. And after a while, he realized, like, it doesn't matter how much I'm presented as the hero, the boy who lived, or the person that everyone should trust, because people are always going to have an opinion.
The Daily Prophet's been saying a lot of things about you, Harry. And about Dumbledore as well.
What, and your mum believes them?
Well, nobody was there the night Cedric died.
Oh, well, I guess you should read The Prophet then, like your stupid mother. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
Don't you dare talk about my mother like that.
I'll have a go at anyone that calls me a liar.
And because he had such a big role and it was kind of polarizing, he amassed a lot of criticism, especially from people who were on the opposite side of the spectrum, who were like more on the side of the Death Eaters and everything. It's kind of natural that when you have a big mission or when you have a goal that you want to set out to do that helps people, you're going to ruffle feathers and you're going to be faced with a lot of people who want to say that you're doing everything wrong, which is what Harry faced all the time. Like, just because you have a lot of haters doesn't mean that you need to keep defending yourself or be on defense mode or have to control them. It is natural to have so many haters when, especially whatever it is you're doing is something that heals and helps people from haters, right? So there isn't a use, and I think this is what Harry figures out eventually. You don't have to keep controlling the narrative whenever it tries to rewrite you. As long as you are on your sort of right path, as long as you surround yourself with the right people, what needs to happen and like to fulfill your purpose will end up happening. All the other people will just be noise. There's no need to control it or them. One person who's a great example of not being controlling at all, but being extremely effective is Luna Lovegood.
You're not going mad. I can see them too. You're just as sane as I am.
Who I'm actually going to do a whole separate video on because I think she's a great example of somebody who is completely unbothered and still gets to solving problems and fulfilling her purpose without having to give in to external validation or anything. So watch out for that video. So let me end by saying letting go is a process, and it's part of the entire healing process and spiritual awakening process and hero's journey. Even if we want it to be faster, even if we want to get over our blocks faster, I think we can, but the way through is through, if that makes sense. Like, if you're like impatient, if you're like, yeah, but I need to mask my fears, like I need to get rid of them. It's not so much that you even need to get rid of them. It's you admit it, you know, like Ron did. Like, you allow yourself to be real with the true issues that you have. The more vulnerable you are, the more you ultimately meet yourself. And you are prioritizing your relationship with you rather than adjusting yourself for everybody else. I think the thing that everyone has in common when it comes to keeping up their old identities and control and their blocks is they're probably adjusting externally so that they can show themselves as like a certain image, and they're not going internally as much. And the more that you go internally and you hear out everything, is the more that you're capable of dealing with the different emotions and things, so you don't have to hold on to them or guard them or anything. You don't have to perfectly get rid of them either. It's more so building a relationship with yourself so that you don't have to feel the need to hold on to anything or control a narrative or control other people. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about the process, which is a process of letting go. Well, in my next videos, I'm going to talk a little bit about other characters and other relationships. But until next time, peace and love. Bye-bye.